The most dangerous moment in an empath's life isn't the night they cry themselves to sleep. It isn't the fight. It isn't the betrayal. It's the quiet morning they wake up and feel nothing for the person they used to bleed for. That's the moment the world should be afraid of. Because an empath who feels nothing for you is an empath you have already lost forever. If you've ever given your whole heart to people who treated you like a backup plan, tap that subscribe button and let me show you why your numbness is actually the beginning of your freedom. You know the feeling I'm talking about. You're sitting in a room full of people who claim to love you, and you have never felt more alone in your entire life. They're laughing, they're talking, they're eating the food you cooked, and you're staring at the wall, wondering when you became invisible to the people you gave everything to. Wondering when your name stopped meaning something in their mouths. That's the empath's hidden wound. You feel too much in a world that feels too little. You see what others refuse to see. You hear what others pretend not to hear. You carry what others drop at your feet and walk away from. And for years, you called this a blessing. You called yourself sensitive. You called yourself caring. You called yourself the good one. But now, you're tired. A tired that sleep can't fix. A tired that vacations can't fix. A tired that no amount of self-care bubble baths can fix. Because this isn't body tired. This is soul tired. This is the kind of tired that comes from carrying other people's lives on your back for so long you forgot you had your own. Carl Jung once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Read that again. You thought it was your fate to always be the giver. You thought it was your fate to always be the one who understood. You thought it was your fate to keep choosing people who couldn't choose you back. But it wasn't fate. It was a pattern, and patterns can be broken. The pattern started young. Maybe you were the kid who could tell when mom had been crying just by the way she closed the kitchen drawer. Maybe you were the kid who learned to be small so dad wouldn't explode. Maybe you were the kid who became the family therapist before you even knew what therapy was. You didn't get a childhood. You got a job, and the pay was bad. Are you tired of carrying everyone else's emotions while nobody asks how you're really doing? Subscribe and hit the bell if you want more truths like this to find you exactly when you need them. Here's the dark truth about empaths nobody wants to say out loud. We are not saints. We are not angels. We are survivors. We didn't choose to be deeply tuned in. We were forced to be. Because being tuned in was the only way to stay safe in homes that weren't safe. In friendships that weren't safe. In relationships that wore love as a costume, but underneath were something else entirely. You became a mirror. That's what people loved about you. They could look at you and see the best version of themselves. You reflected back their potential. You reflected back their hidden goodness. You reflected back the person they pretended to be in public. And they got addicted to that reflection. They got addicted to feeling like a better person around you. But they never actually became that better person. They just used your light to fake it. And when you finally pulled the mirror away, when you finally stopped reflecting their lie back to them, they panicked. They got angry. They called you difficult. They called you cold. They called you selfish. Because without your mirror, they had to look at who they actually were. And what they actually were was uncomfortable. So they blamed you for showing them. You start to notice the pattern in every relationship you ever had. The friend who only called when she was falling apart. The partner who only got tender after they did something wrong. The family member who used your forgiveness as a license to keep hurting you. The coworker who dumped their drama on your desk and walked off into their day, lighter, while you carried it home and tossed it on top of your own. And you smiled. You always smiled. You said it was fine. You said you understood. You said don't worry about it. And you meant it. That's the worst part. you actually meant it. Because empaths don't fake their kindness. Empaths give their real kindness to fake people. And that's how empaths get destroyed. Has this ever happened to you, where you realized everyone in your life had a version of you they were addicted to, and none of them knew the real you at all? Drop a yes in the comments and subscribe to join thousands who are finally seeing through the fog. There's a specific kind of loneliness only empaths understand. It's the loneliness of being surrounded by people and still feeling like a ghost. It's the loneliness of being the listener but never the listened to. It's the loneliness of being the safe place that nobody else thought to build for you. You hold everyone who holds you. You see everyone who sees you. You learn to need very little. You learn to ask for nothing. You learn to be low maintenance, easy, breezy, no trouble at all. Because somewhere along the way you decided that being lovable meant being undemanding. That asking for things would make you a burden. That having needs would make you too much. So you shrank. You shrank for years, and nobody even noticed how small you'd become. The funny thing about shrinking is that the people who benefit from it never thank you for it. They just take it. They expand into the space you give up. They get louder while you get quieter. They get more demanding while you get more accommodating. And by the time you wake up, you don't even recognize the shape of your own life anymore. You're living in a house that has no room for you. Jung talked about something called the persona, the mask we wear to fit into the world. Most people have one. Empaths often have 10. You have a mask for work, a mask for family, a mask for friends, a mask for your partner, a mask for the grocery store. And underneath all those masks, there's a person who hasn't been seen in so long, she's starting to wonder if she even still exists. But she does exist. She's been waiting. She's been patient. She's been quiet. And lately, she's been getting louder. You feel her in the moments you're alone. You feel her when you cry in the car for no reason. You feel her in the strange anger that rises up when you're being nice for the 100th time that day. That's her. That's the real you. And she's done. Done being the punching bag. Done being the project. Done being the dumping ground. Done being the safety net. Done being the unpaid therapist, the on-call mom, the emotional vending machine that everyone reaches into when they're empty but nobody refills. Done. The word feels like fire in your mouth. The word feels like a promise. The word feels like coming home. Do you recognize that done feeling rising up in your chest right now? Subscribe and tell me your story below, because what you have to say matters more than you know. When the empath finally walks away, the world doesn't end with a bang. It ends with a stillness. A stillness so deep you don't know what to do with it at first. Because for years, your nervous system has been wired to chaos, to drama, to rescue missions, to emergencies that weren't even yours. And now it's quiet. And the quiet is terrifying. And the quiet is beautiful. You start to hear your own thoughts again. Not the thoughts about what they need. Not the thoughts about how to fix them. Not the thoughts about whether you upset them. Your own thoughts. About your own life. About what you want. About who you might have been if you hadn't spent every ounce of energy keeping other people afloat. And those thoughts feel like meeting a stranger who turns out to be you. You start small. You start by sleeping in. You start by saying no to a phone call. You start by eating the meal you actually want. You start by canceling the plans you only made because you didn't know how to say no. You start by deleting the messages without reading them. You start by walking past the mirror without checking if you look okay enough. You start by being okay with not being okay sometimes. And something strange happens. The world doesn't fall apart. Nobody dies. The sky doesn't crack open. The people who said they couldn't live without you somehow keep living. The friends who said you were irreplaceable replace you within a week.
The family that called you their rock builds a new rock out of someone else's bones.
And it stings. But it also tells you everything you needed to know. You were never as needed as you thought. You were just convenient. You were just available. You were just the easiest one to take from. And that realization should hurt. And it does. But there's something underneath the hurt. A relief. A massive, body-wide relief. Because if you were never really needed, then you never really had to do all that. You never really had to bleed for them. You never really had to. This is the part of the journey that breaks empaths open. The grief. The grief of realizing the love wasn't what you thought it was. The grief of realizing the loyalty was one way. The grief of realizing you mourned people who were still alive because the relationship you thought you had was a story you were telling yourself. And the story was beautiful, but it wasn't true.
Have you been pretending everything is fine when really you've been grieving relationships that never even existed the way you thought they did? Subscribe and drop your experience below because your honesty is going to free someone else too. Here is where the transformation really begins, not in the leaving. The leaving is just the door. The transformation begins in the after. In the days when nobody is asking anything of you. In the weeks when your phone gets quieter. In the months when you start to find yourself in small, ordinary moments. Drinking coffee, watching the rain, walking without a destination. Just existing, just being, just yours. You start to feel your body again. You didn't realize how much you'd left it, how you'd numbed your shoulders, your stomach, your jaw, just to survive being around them. You feel your breath go deeper. You feel your hands relax for the first time in years. You feel warmth come back into your chest, a warmth that you used to give away, a warmth that finally gets to stay home with you. You start to feel your intuition come back online, that little voice you'd been ignoring for years, the one that told you something was off, the one that warned you about the friend, the lover, the boss, the voice you silenced because you thought you were being paranoid. That voice wasn't paranoid. That voice was protecting you. And now you finally hear her, and you promise her you'll never silence her again. You start to feel powerful, not loud powerful, not show-off powerful, quiet powerful. The kind of powerful that doesn't need to prove itself. The kind of powerful that sits still and watches. The kind of powerful that knows. You stop arguing with people who don't deserve your words. You stop explaining yourself to people who weren't listening anyway. You stop performing your worth for an audience that was never going to clap. Jung called this individuation, the slow, sacred process of becoming who you actually are underneath all the conditioning, all the trauma, all the people-pleasing, all the masks. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not a transformation montage. It's 1,000 small moments of choosing yourself over the version of you they made you become. It's 1,000 small no's that add up to one massive yes to your own life. And in this process, you become something the world isn't ready for. Something the people who used you cannot handle. Something almost dangerous in its calmness. You become a person who cannot be manipulated. A person who cannot be guilt-tripped. A person who cannot be love-bombed back into the same prison she just escaped from. You become untouchable. Not cold, untouchable. Does this sound like a transformation someone you know desperately needs? Share this video with them and subscribe for more because they might not have the words for it yet, but you do.
Now let me tell you what they don't want you to know. The people who hurt you are watching. They feel your absence, even if they pretend not to. They feel the temperature of the room drop without you in it. They feel the absence of your kindness, your patience, your endless willingness to absorb their mess. And they don't know what to do. Because you were the system. You were the operating software. And now the software is gone. Some of them will try to come back. They'll come dressed in apologies that almost sound real.
They'll come with stories about how they've changed. They'll come with the right words, the words you used to beg them to say, the words you cried over the lack of for years. And here's what nobody warns you about. Those words won't move you anymore. They'll just sound like a foreign language you used to speak. That's how you know you're free. Not when you stop loving them. Empaths don't really stop loving. Empaths just stop bleeding.
You can love someone and still close the door. You can wish them well and still never let them back into your life. You can pray for them from a distance and never answer their call. That's the new empath. The empath who learned that love without protection is just slow suicide. Some of them won't come back. They'll get angry instead. They'll talk about you. They'll twist the story. They'll make themselves the victim. They'll find new people to tell about how cruel you were, how cold you were, how unrecognizable you became. Let them. Their words have no power over you anymore. They are screaming into a phone you've already disconnected. Because here's the truth. People who actually love you don't need to convince others you were the problem. People who actually love you don't need to build a case against you when you leave. People who actually love you mourn you privately and grow from losing you. The ones who go on the offensive when you walk away weren't loving you. They were owning you. And ownership and love are not the same thing. This is one of the most painful realizations an empath ever has, that some of the people you called family never actually loved you. They loved what you did. They loved what you provided. They loved how you made their lives easier. But you, the actual you, the messy, complex, deep, sensitive, beautiful you, they never knew her. And worse, they never wanted to. Do you recognize this in someone from your own life right now? Someone whose love was actually just usage in disguise? Subscribe now and tell me your story below, because your story might be the exact mirror someone else needs to finally see clearly. Let's talk about the loneliness that comes after, because no one prepares you for this part. The loneliness of being free is a strange loneliness. It's not the loneliness of missing them. It's the loneliness of missing the version of you who still believed in them. It's the loneliness of grieving who you were before you knew. There's no going back to that innocence. Once you see, you cannot unsee. You'll have moments where you wonder if you made the right choice. Moments where you scroll through old photos and feel a pull in your chest. Moments where you almost text, almost call, almost go back. That's normal. That's not weakness. That's the part of you that still remembers the good moments, the real moments, the moments where it felt like love, even if it wasn't. But here's what you have to remember in those weak moments. You didn't leave because of one bad day. You left because of 1,000 small deaths. You left because of the cumulative weight of being unseen. You left because the version of you you'd have to become to stay was a version of you who was slowly dying. You didn't leave because of who they were on their best day. You left because of who they actually were on every other day. Hold on to that. Tattoo it on your soul, because they will come back, and they will only show you their best day. They will not bring the silent treatment with them. They will not bring the manipulation with them. They will not bring the slow erosion of your confidence with them. They will only bring the soft voice and the right words. And if you forget what the rest of them looked like, you will go back. And going back will destroy you in a way leaving never did. So write it down. Whatever they did, however they made you feel. Write it down somewhere only you can see. Read it on the days you feel weak. Read it on the days you romanticize what was. Read it on the days you forget. The empath's greatest enemy isn't the people who hurt her. It's her own beautiful, terrible memory for the good parts only. Protect yourself from your own selective memory. And surround yourself, slowly, gently, with people who don't require you to perform.
People who don't drain you when they walk into the room.
People who ask about your day and actually wait for the answer. People who notice when you go quiet and don't punish you for it. They're rare, but they're real. And once you've felt the difference, you can never go back to the fake versions of love you used to settle for. Is this why you've been feeling so exhausted? Because you've been trying to remember what real love feels like in a world that taught you to settle for the imitation? Subscribe and let me know in the comments. Your voice matters here. Here is where you become truly sovereign. Sovereignty is not loud. Sovereignty is not aggressive. Sovereignty is the quiet, unshakable knowing that your life belongs to you, that your time belongs to you, that your energy belongs to you, that your peace is not negotiable, that your boundaries are not requests, they are facts. They are the architecture of your kingdom, and you don't apologize for the walls. You stop over-explaining. The sovereign empath says one sentence where she used to say 10. She says no without the paragraph of justification. She says I can't without the elaborate reason. She says I don't want to without the apology. Her words become precise. Her words become weighted. Her words mean something again because she stopped throwing them around for free. You stop chasing closure. That's a big one. Empaths love closure. We love endings that make sense. We love the final conversation, the explanation, the apology, the mutual understanding. But sovereign empaths learn the hardest lesson. Some people will never give you closure because they don't have the depth to give it. You have to close the door yourself. You have to be your own ending. You have to write the last page alone. And you stop being available. This is when people really start to notice. You don't pick up the phone on the first ring anymore. You don't drop everything to fix their crisis anymore.
You don't make yourself smaller to make their feelings bigger anymore. You become a person who responds when she's ready, who shows up when it works for her, who lives by her own rhythm instead of everyone else's tempo. And it changes everything. People will adjust. The ones who actually care will adjust. They'll learn the new rules of being in your life, and they'll respect them, because real love respects boundaries. The ones who don't care will leave. They'll get frustrated. They'll lash out. They'll go find someone easier to take from. And good. Let them. Their leaving is just the universe taking out your trash. You realize something powerful in this phase. Most of the relationships you were terrified to lose were already lost. You were just holding the corpse and calling it alive. You were just pouring love into a body that had no pulse. The grief of letting go is just the grief of finally admitting what you already knew. They were gone. You were the only one still pretending.
And now you don't have to pretend anymore. Have you been holding on to relationships that already died a long time ago, just because you couldn't bear to admit it? Subscribe and drop your experience below. This is a safe place to finally tell the truth. The final stage of the empath who walks away is the most beautiful thing on earth. It's the stage where you stop being available to be hurt the same way ever again. Not because you became hard, because you became wise. Wisdom is just the scar tissue of all the times you bled and learned, and you have so much wisdom now. You wear it like armor. You wear it like jewelry. You wear it like a crown. You become the woman who walks into rooms different than she walked into rooms before. You don't hide. You don't shrink. You don't apologize for taking up space. You take up your space. The space that was always yours. The space that was meant for you. The space that the world told you you weren't allowed to have. You take it. And nobody can take it back from you. Not anymore. Not ever again. You become the woman whose presence is felt before her voice is heard. The woman whose silence is a sentence. The woman whose stillness is a statement. The woman who doesn't have to chase anything because what is hers will find her.
What is meant for her cannot miss her. What is hers cannot be taken. And what is taken was never really hers to begin with. You attract a different kind of person now. The fake ones can't stand your frequency anymore. They feel uncomfortable around you. They make excuses to leave. They stop reaching out. That's not loss. That's a filter. Your energy is now too high for the people who used to feed off your low. The real ones, the rare ones, the ones who feel like coming home, those will start to find you, slowly, quietly, like flowers blooming in a garden you forgot you planted. And love, real love, it finds you in a way it couldn't before, because you have space for it now.
Your hands aren't full of other people's burdens. Your heart isn't busy bleeding into the wrong cups. Your time isn't being spent rescuing people who don't want to be saved. You have room. You have light. You have peace. And those three things are what real love needs to grow. And it will grow. Trust me, it will grow. You will look back on this season of your life and barely recognize the woman who almost stayed. You will barely remember her exhaustion. You will barely remember her tears. You will barely remember the way her hands used to shake when their name lit up her screen. She'll feel like a stranger you love, a stranger you thank, a stranger you wouldn't be free without, but still a stranger, because you are not her anymore, and you never have to be her again. So let me leave you with this. If you are standing at the edge of walking away, scared, second-guessing, wondering if you're being too much or not enough or wrong somehow, hear me. You are not too much.
You were just surrounded by people too small to hold you. You are not wrong. You are finally right. You are not cruel. You are finally clear. And the love you've been giving away in pieces, every single piece of it, gets to come home to you now. You get to be the safe place for yourself that you've been for everyone else. You get to be the patient one with yourself. You get to be the understanding one with yourself. You get to be the unconditional love you searched for in every wrong person. It was you. It was always you. The love you were looking for was the love you were already giving. You just kept giving it in the wrong direction. Now you point it inward. Now you keep it. The empath who walks away doesn't lose. She becomes. She becomes the woman she was always meant to be before the world taught her to apologize for existing. She becomes powerful. She becomes peaceful. She becomes whole. She becomes the kind of woman that teenage girls grow up wanting to be.
The kind of woman that other women whisper about with respect. The kind of woman who finally chose herself. And in choosing herself, freed everyone who's watching her, including the woman watching this video right now. That's you. I'm talking to you. The woman who's been holding it together for everyone. The woman who hasn't been held in so long she forgot what it feels like. The woman who is reading my words right now and feeling something crack open in her chest. That cracking is not breaking. That cracking is hatching. You are not falling apart. You are coming through. You are coming home. To yourself. Finally. If this video made you feel something, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more videos that actually understand you.